So I have just hit record, so we are officially recording this now just to make sure everybody feels comfortable and knows that that is out there. But we will be sharing all of this through the same way we communicated this, which was Facebook and our Facebook groups, as well as Relay Connect, and send your email there and I'll follow up. But my name is Keisha McKinney. I am a almost 11-year cancer survivor. And I grew up in Texas, I live in Arkansas, and I relay in Oklahoma. So I apologize now for the accent. I'm going to really try to pay attention, but I will probably talk fast, but we'll do what we can. I'm the South Region Volunteer Communication Strategy Lead, which just means I get to help communicate for and on behalf of the South Region. And then I also serve as a National Volunteer Social Channel Manager, which really my main responsibility in that is helping to coordinate volunteer social media training, which is where we are tonight. Training and preparing others is something I'm super passionate about, so I'm excited to kick off our year with this. And then my co-presenter is Carol, and I'm going to let her introduce herself real quick.
Hey everyone, I'm Carol Roeder. I am a staff person from the Phoenix office. I'm a 20-year cancer survivor, and I've been with the Society for 20 years. So when I was diagnosed, I was in the right place at the right time for the right reason. And I am thrilled to partner with Keisha on this training. Actually, it's a full series of training, and so I hope you get some really great gems out of this, because we have fun doing it, and we hope you have fun learning things. So back to you, Keisha.
All right, sounds good. We did just hit 100, so if you have friends who are trying to get in and that may not allow them, please let them know, text them or whatever, that we will be sharing all this information afterwards. So I'm going to scoot on in. Our agenda for tonight is this, just to look at specifically Relay for Life social media strategies for 2019, best practices for success, experiences and where those are working, and then some resources and tools that will get in your hands. Just a couple housekeeping things. I've already mentioned this a couple times, but if you're just now jumping on, we are recording. We do plan to share all this afterwards. If you would like that information, please share your email address in the chat box so we can capture that, or send it to me privately. My name is Keisha McKinney. There in the chat, you can send it to me privately. Everyone is muted for now, and will stay that way until there's question time. Feel free as we go to post questions, and we'll try to respond back and forth with you guys and participate that way, and then have some question time at the end. All right, we're just going to jump in here real quick. This is our main topic for tonight: social media strategies on behalf of the Relay for Life American Cancer Society. And much of this conversation will talk specific in terms of Facebook, but we want you guys to know that if you're running Instagram and Twitter accounts, that the philosophies translate. Obviously, terminology and stuff will be a little bit different as far as pages versus feed and everything like that. And then this is the first in a series for 2019, a social media training. And we'll share those dates at the end, so you have the upcoming sessions, but those will include things like Instagram, utilizing the website, best practices, answering questions that you guys put out on Facebook, as well as publicity in your local community when you don't have a lot of resources. Take a deep breath. That is a big slide with lots of things on it, and a big word that you may or may not know there at the top. And this is kind of one of the first strategies, and that word is ephemeral. And it's a big word, but it's also a big trend in social media right now. And it's not just a trend for us. It's not just a strategy for us, but it's a trend we want to jump in and play in the playground with, if you will. And that is ephemeral content. It's just there for a short amount of time. You can see that on the screen. A main example would be kind of the concept of Instagram stories or Facebook stories. And while you may say, well, I don't really do stories. The same philosophy is applying to our posts and our news feeds on these platforms. And this ephemeral idea inspires FOMO, which is the concept of fear of missing out. And so your audience wants to keep coming back for more, because if they don't come back often enough, they might miss something that you're sharing with them. Also, it gives a behind the scenes look where your audience gets exclusive look into your brand. It makes you feel approachable, not just being a brand and somebody behind, but you're real life people, and not just a bunch of stock images. Ephemeral content also focuses on mobile first, and it may not be like with Facebook stories and Instagram stories aren't necessarily available in the same way on desktop. But what you need to do, and what I would challenge you if you're not using stories, still think about the fact that mobile first, when you're building images, know that people are looking at that most often on their phone or their tablets, because that's the thing that they have with them all the time. The other last thing about ephemeral content is that it drives higher engagement, which is just a fancy tech term for interaction and all the things that we're seeking for people to actually see what we're spending our time putting out. Just for an example, Instagram Stories has 250 million daily active users. And so it is something. If you're contemplating stories, know that it is a way and a place that consumers are going in how they look at the information that we give them. Here's just a quick visual. Again, we are sharing all of this stuff, so you can screenshot if you want, but don't panic. We'll get you this information. Just gives you a quick visual as we keep going through some of these details. And that is another thing in trends is video. We all know that video is driving a big performance when it comes to social media. 1/3 of all online activity is spent watching videos, and 87% of marketers utilize videos in their major campaigns. And this is pretty interesting. Viewers believe that 95% of messages from videos are retained in their mind. So if your group is considering what to do this next year, maybe it's the year to try some video, because it really does make a big difference. 45% of people watch more than an hour of Facebook or YouTube videos a week, and over 500 million, which is 500 million people, are watching video on Facebook every day, according to Forbes. Another interesting thing as we consider and look at kind of these trends and strategies is that Facebook and really the other platforms as well are putting your friends first. And so last January, we kind of all panicked, wondering what Facebook's big announcement of the changes they were making would do for us. But it's played in all of our favors, and that is that they are delivering content in our news feed with a preference for close connections. And those are determined on how we interact with people and their posts. Facebook is really putting friends first. And that's why the concept of influencers has gained just a ton of popularity, and it's helping drive business. As a matter of fact, 70% of millennial consumers, which is a big group that we in Relay for Life are targeting more and more, are influenced by the recommendations of their peers and buying decisions. And so if you really think about it, when was the last time you did something because a brand told you to do it versus a real person suggesting that to you? And so research, again, it's just, this is the way that millennials are consuming a lot of that content. And so we want to be about real people and not just a brands, a bunch of brands and facts and all of that kind of stuff. And one more thing in Facebook land is donations and video captions. And these are two kind of interesting things. One is 18% of donors worldwide say that they have donated to a nonprofit through Facebook fundraising tools. We're seeing more and more of this creep in with like birthday sponsorships and different things like that. And even the American Cancer Society saw fantastic success with Giving Tuesday. I know here in the South region, our football teams, same collegiate events kind of played into that, and we saw some big rivalries play out with the amount of money on Giving Tuesday that that they really saw and interacted with. So just be prepared. Comfort with this is growing, and it is going to be a bigger and bigger trend. It is definitely a strategy of ours this next year. So I would just encourage you to make it a part of your plan with your ELT there, with your local event, that that you would integrate your site and encourage your participants to do the same with what you're doing with Facebook fundraising tools that's out there. The other thing I mentioned was video captions. One piece of feedback we've kind of received this past year is that 85% of Facebook videos are watched without sound. And that's why you're going to see a lot this year on the national account, that many of their videos will have subtitles or captions, however you want to call that, just because so many people are watching it without sound. And I can tell you from personal experience, I'm the mom of a 1-year-old. Often my consumption time happens when I'm rocking a baby, I'm feeding a baby, and I want him to go to sleep, so I don't want to listen to loud videos. And that's just on trend with so many of our consumers. So Carol, I'm gonna let you run for a second with some stuff for us.
Hey, thanks. And yeah, I wanted to just say one thing really quick based on the message that you were just saying about using Facebook. Just a point of clarification. People who are using Facebook can start a Facebook fundraiser right from their own page. Know that if they do that, we can't tie it back to your event. If, on the other hand, they register for your event and they use their fundraising page to launch the Facebook fundraiser from it, that comes back to you. That gets recorded. Ultimately, it all comes to ACS, but if you want it to be tied to your event, you want to encourage your participants to register online and launch their Facebook fundraiser from the event page. And that's that. Still following up on some of Keisha's notes about the strategies, you've known for a long time that telling stories about how ACS impacts your community is relevant to your followers and to your event. And the national social strategy is now prominently delivering this message. The Relay for Life participant is our hero. Telling his or her story will drive greater relevance and impact. Storytelling enables us to create a connection with consumers, and through that, we're able to increase reach and awareness about ACS and their mission and Relay for Life and how we impact the fight against cancer. So when you visit the Master ACS or Relay for Life channels, social channels, you'll see more posts about participants sharing their passion for Relay for Life with friends and family in order to recruit new participants and fundraisers. Instead of us acting as a mass communicator, the society wants our heroes to share their stories, to be the voice of our brand, to engage and talk about their experience with the brand and the community. The more we get our communities talking about ACS and they share with their friends and their family, the broader our reach becomes. We gain more brand awareness, more people know about Relay for Life, more about the American Cancer Society, more about who we are and what we do. Let's take a look at how the society is shifting to more of a storytelling approach. On this slide, on the left-hand side, this is a pretty typical post. I've done posts like this. A great photo from a great event, and whatever you write to go with it really needs to kind of carry the message, because unless you know who you are in that photo, other people may not share the same excitement for the photo. It's a little bit smaller and it's probably meaningful for some, but it doesn't tell the full story like the one next to it does, because the one on the right is a video. And some of you may or may not know about Grant Krim, but this is his personal story and it resonates with the consumer on an emotional level. And if I remember this correctly, that's his mom standing next to him and she recorded the video. So it's her story about her son and his fight with cancer. And it I mean, make you laugh, make you cry, ask for money. That's fundraising. And she does it really well. But it tells such an emotional story, and it really engages people more than a photo does. A photo's good, but video's better. So instead of just typing words and adding an image, I challenge you to show or illustrate who we are and what we do, and engage more of the people who inspire us to fight cancer from every angle. Storytelling is so important that relayers across the country are being asked to complete a short questionnaire designed to provide some basic information about their interest in telling their relay story. The Society will review the submissions regularly to identify storytelling opportunities for the master brand relay site on cancer.org or in other communication channels. And we, the Society, will be contacting those storytellers for more information and or their permissions. So if you have a story to tell, please go to relayforlife.org/stories. If you know of somebody in your community who's got a strong, compelling story to talk about their fight against cancer and what ACS means to them, please encourage them to go there. We want you are our heroes. We want you to tell your hero story because it's you who really makes our mission. You breathe life into our mission. You make it real. Back to you, Keisha. And you're muted, Keisha.
All right, thank you. You guys are asking great questions in the chat, so keep doing that as we go along. We'll try to answer and interact as we're able to. This slide kind of takes us to the next set, and that's really trying to understand, and I've heard this from lots of folks in like our online role and our marketing role. What is the national platform accounts doing, and then what are we supposed to do at our local level? And even as we talk here the rest of the evening and use the word national versus local or event versus market, when we say national, what we're talking about are kind of the official, if you will, I did air quotes, you couldn't see them, but the official American Cancer Society account page. On Instagram, they're called accounts. On Twitter, they're called accounts. We're probably talking pages on Facebook. And then same thing, the American Cancer Society Relay for Life official accounts and pages. So when we talk about national, that's who we're talking about. And then when we talk about local or event, we're talking about the pages that you guys manage as someone who's part of a local Relay for Life event leadership team, or whatever role that means that you play in getting to do that. But for me, that's Relay for Life of Broken Bow, Oklahoma, or Relay for Life of Clark County, Arkansas. However you have that listed, when we say local, that's what we're referring to. So anyway, we want you guys to be promoting the local specific initiatives and details related to your event, while the national accounts are going to be handling these big stories and doing, pushing out initiatives, if you will, through stories, kind of what Carol was just talking about. And we want you to share those. We want you to hit the little share button underneath them and share those on your local page as well. But don't feel like you have to focus as much on all these big picture initiatives. National is going to share those, and you can kind of put that in your mix, and instead use your account to do a lot of the specifics related to your local event and into your community. One of the factors that plays into that is the concept of user-generated content. We're going to use and throw that term around a lot more tonight. Really what it boils down to with that is we want the participants, the people that are not necessarily living in business world of Facebook like we are, interacting with us. And so as a local participant at my Relay for Life, am headed to my team captain meeting, or I'm headed to a fundraiser, we want to be encouraging those folks to tag us. And that gives you at the local level pictures, stories, and information, just like when you post something on your local page and tag the national page, it gives them content up. So that's kind of where that user-generated content, we want just everyday people using Facebook to tag us where they can, and that gives us stories and ideas and different things like that, because you as a social media page manager can't be everywhere seeing and doing everything. So you're going to pull that information. Another factor that helps us is just the way that the Facebook algorithm works, and Twitter has one, Instagram has one, because Facebook owns Instagram, so they're very similar. And when I say the word algorithm, it's always just like a scary word, I feel like, for technical things. Just know that it's basically this fancy spreadsheet that works in the background of the platform that makes a social media feed function. It's changing, frankly, and we kind of get frustrated by that. The good thing is this past year, it's changed in our favor as users, where we get to see what we want to see. The hard part of that as brands was that our folks, if they didn't interact with us and see us, then they don't see our information as often. So, we can't really get mad at them. They let us play there on their platforms for free, but just know that they're thinking friends first. And so the more we can get folks to interact with our page, our local pages, and then the national pages, then we technically become friends. And so those popular posts move up in their feed. It's kind of like voting for prom queen. The more active something is, the higher it is in our feed, the more often we see it and interact with it. So like it or not, that's just where it is. We do that. One cool thing that can help some of that is this new control that we have over seeing our notifications. And that is if you go into a page, and I'll be honest, groups have a very similar concept. I think instead of the word following there under the picture, it says notifications if you're in a group. You can actually control how you see and interact with the post that a certain page does. And so something like this right here might be a really great thing to maybe, if you are, to maybe post at a team captain meeting, or to share with them, that you can let them know, hey, if you're saying you never see our stuff, here's one way that you can see that more often. Or same thing for you. If you say, well, I never see what's being posted by the Relay for Life national page, here's a way to go in, and you can see there, you can control how notifications pop up in your newsfeed. And then the bottom part that says notifications, that's actually the little email that you get, not the email, the bell icon there at the top. For me, it says 4. That's how you can kind of see what's happened and get that information directly without having to scroll all the way through your news feed. So just something, if you didn't know that this feature was there, to take advantage of it, and then also share this information with those on your event leadership team, as well as your team captains, and get them to encourage those that follow them. And this is how people can always see your information and what you're posting, right? So practically, if I were to just spell this out, what does this look like? When you're sharing, when you're posting, when you're writing content for posts, you want to be sharing event-specific details and dates. I have a really big pet peeve, and you'll hear me say it lots on this call. Don't make people dig for the things you want them to know. And so rather than making someone know your short URL or going to the website, trying to figure out where your event is, just post it on your Facebook page. If you guys didn't know this, most people are using Facebook and social media just like they use Google. And frankly, the way Google interacts with our Facebook pages, it's popping up sometimes ahead of our websites that we want to do. And so make sure that as you share your posts and are building that you're giving those event-specific details and information. Interact and tag your local participants, and by that I mean when you post about somebody at your team captain meeting, say you're giving a team, they just leveled up and they're a Ruby status team now, tag that name of that actual person when you post. And that's one of the ways that your the popularity kind of goes up, because then anybody who follows you and follows them is more likely to see that. But also that information will show up in the news feed of people who follow them and how they have their privacy settings. Another way to do that is related to a sponsor. Thanks to Community Bank for being a, you know, whatever level, gold level sponsor of Relay for Life. Well, when you type, don't just type Community Bank, tag them. One of the ways to do that, if they don't automatically pop up, is you can put the @ symbol in front of their name, and it will start popping up. I would also encourage you to go in and we can do some private things on this, or in one of our future trainings that's asking questions if you guys don't know these specifics that I'm talking about tagging folks. But you can use Facebook as your page, and so you can go follow the businesses who are your sponsors. You can go follow the businesses who are your teams. And that way, when it comes to wanting to tag them, you're already tagged. You're already connected, and they should show up pretty easily there in popularity, if you will, as you're trying to self-predict what you're doing. Same thing, making sure people will follow you, and they're much easier to find and tag. But tag people as you're going through and doing things. I think what else? Oh, create events just like we did tonight. Those who follow us on the nationwide Relay for Life online chair group, we created an event for this event tonight, and those who marked going, it helped, one, it spread to other people who followed them, but it also gave you reminders today and different things like that. So for things like a 5K that's a fundraiser, or you know, different sub events that you may have, a survivor dinner, different things like that, create events for those, and that just helps that information pop up in front of people. And then another thing that I would suggest is to interact and share from your local community. Don't just be a place that wants to be a topic in conversation, be part of the conversation. And don't just ask for people to do things for you. So, you know, fundraiser announcements and all that's good, but when your health community of your community is talking or doing something, share that information on your page. It doesn't have to just be, you know, pushing and shoving things in people's faces that are just Relay for Life of Clark County. It can be something great that's happening with a statistic about your county, and or a hospital, your local hospital just got an award or something like that. A doctor that you guys interact with constantly, or somebody in town's providing free prostate cancer screenings, or something happens with the wig closet. Just share that information, so it's not just, you don't have to just be part of that. Interact and congratulate participants. We just had here a girl that's on our youth team. She just won the pageant at the high school, and so, you know, to go comment and interact with that conversation that's happening of congratulations to her as the Relay page is just something where people just see that you're kind of out there and part of the conversation. You can also, one of the ways that National kind of finds and is going to find some of these stories is when we tag them in our posts. So you may not do it with every one of them, but I would suggest, especially if it's a really great story or a success or something you're really proud of, tag the National American Cancer Society Relay for Life page in your post, and help them. That's how they find this stuff. They don't just sit around in the office digging around on Facebook all day. A lot of times they find it because we tagged them. It's a lot easier on Instagram and Twitter sometimes, but Carol has just shared the handles for both of those, at Relay for Life, at American Cancer Society. You can start typing those in when you're in Facebook. Tagging's a little bit different, but let them see your post just the same way that you're going to encourage your local participants and event leadership to be tagging you. All right, Carol, share with us some best practices.
Thanks, Keisha. I know a lot of what you've covered so far really does speak to the Relay for Life social strategies. Well, actually, it's all social media strategies on behalf of the society. So it's kind of high level, though it does, drip down to us. But I think now that you have heard those, with particularly focused on storytelling, let's dedicate the rest of our time talking about you and your event and your community and your social media voice. And of course, everything that you do will also align with some of the strategies that we just went over. So hopefully you found some really good gems in the first 30 minutes of our program that will help you moving forward. I pulled several of these slides right from the Relay for Life social media playbook, and you'll get a link to that at the end of the webinar. But these are awesome pieces of information that I think you're going to find helpful. And from the social media newbie to the seasoned experts, one of the questions that everybody asks is, how do I get the best results from my efforts? And how do I get more readers? How do I get more followers? How do I get more engagement? And the answer will likely be, it depends. And it depends on some of these questions that you see on the screen right now. How many people are seeing my messages? What content is my audience responding to? Which posts that I put up seem to go unnoticed and why? And sometimes it can be a little overwhelming. But our goal tonight is to answer those questions and to give you a few focused, tried and true best practices to help you be successful, to help you engage people on your social media site, and more importantly, to inspire them to register and fundraise for your Relay event. At the end of the webinar, we'll provide you with links and tools to all these great, pieces of information so that you have them at your fingertip. Here is, you all know the Plan, Grow, Go model, and it doesn't escape the social media world either. So when you are starting to work on a social media plan for your event, work with the other members of your event leadership team to make sure that your plan is in sync with the overall leadership team plan. In other words, timing is just really important. In other words, you don't really want to be promoting the band who's going to be playing at your event 8 months out, because that's not where your team is. Instead, when you're 8 to 12 months out, your social messages will likely be about recruitment. And maybe you'll tell a story about a current sponsor and encourage others to sponsor too. And at 4 to 8 months out, it's the perfect time to host a video provided by a longtime team captain who challenges the community to register, form a team, join him or her at the event. And then just before the event, in the go phase, that's when you get to generate excitement about what's to come, and you can really get creative. You can put, if you're going to have a band there, you can put a snippet of them playing. If you're going to have some games or things or some special entertainment, you can highlight that. If you're going to have some type of a dignitary or celebrity at the event, you get to highlight that kind of information. But again, what's going to work for you is to frame those things into storytelling. So think about, I need to tell them this, and what's a really fun storytelling way that we can frame it to make it fun and interesting and compelling. And here, this next slide is all about the content. And, do you know somebody who posts the same message every day, day after day? I do, and I want to tell them, let's shake it up. So the same goes for your event, and these boxes show the various types of posts that will help you and your event be relevant to your community and your fundraising efforts. So if you're doing a piece on recruitment, maybe you do get the team captain to talk about how fun it is and how people are going to have so much fun if they only take 2 minutes to register and online and form a team and join you. Maybe you've got last year's top fundraising team who decides to put together a video or a photo collage of how much fun they had, and the message is, the only way you can have this kind of fun is if you come to our relay and have a team. Things like that. I lost my train of thought. People respond to relevant content, so it's important to mix recruitment messages and survivor stories and sponsor highlights and logistics. It's just really important to keep it mixed up and make sure that you have variety that keeps your content interesting and meaningful. And so one might say, is it possible to post a single message that falls into more than one box? And absolutely. It could be a motivational message wrapped into a team captain story with an ask to register and fundraise. You can be all over that board. But the purpose here is just to know that there's different things. You don't want to be recruit. You know what I'm saying. So just make sure that you give the people what they want, and make it interesting and varied. When your social messages are relevant and meaningful and interesting, your community's going to experience that FOMO factor, the fear of missing out, and they'll come back for more information, and that drives up followers and engagement. Keisha's got some really interesting specifics about how you can weave diversity and variety into your posts. Take it away.
Yeah, well, and I just want to say, interrupt myself, if you will, before we do this. Great conversation going on in the chat group, and I will say, as I go through these 5 topics, if you guys have a great best practice or you've had an awesome success with one of these things, share that with us in the chat, so that we can, one, call it out and share with others, but that's part of this experience. We want to be better because you guys are better. And I will really say, if you're struggling with Facebook and going, what do I do? How do I figure out what to put out? Let me just tell you to pause and take a deep breath and think about a couple things. And one of those is, everyone comes to social media with a what's in it for me concept. Even if you're not like a selfish person, you're going to consume or scroll past something based on how it affects you, interacts with you, engages you, really within like a blink of an eye. I don't even think you get 1 second with people. So as you're thinking about what to post, we want to be careful and not like crazy and like cheeky with what's happening in our community, but no one knows your audience like you know your audience. Carol and I haven't looked at the full list, but I don't think Carol and I live in your town. And so we live in towns like your town. We've been to towns like your town. We've interacted with people like your people, but no one knows your town and what today looks like in your town like you do. And so as we go through this, that's what I would encourage you to always keep in mind, is that if you give them what they want, what Carol just said, they're going to keep coming back. And if you mix it up and you're not boring from a perspective of content, giving them what you want them to have. If you only ever talk on your Facebook page about fundraisers, people are going to roll their eyes and scroll past you all day long. So that's just something to put out there to you as we go through. So you guys share, just share some ideas or things that happened, a success or whatever. Y'all are doing a great job to support each other there. Just with the first word there, connect. Main thing is to just say, to make it personal. Don't make people dig for the steps you're trying to make them take. If you're wanting somebody to sign up for your Relay for Life event, put the link in your post at the end of your post so they don't have to go figure out what that looks like. If you want somebody to show up at a place and you know it's hard to get to that venue, put a map to it there. Just different things. Tagging people also helps. Especially if there's 2 people in your same town with the same name. Are we talking about the mayor here, or are we talking about the teacher at the high school? Those kinds of things. Hopefully you're talking about both of them. We'd love for both of those to be involved with what you're doing. Also make sure you're using hashtags. One of the main hashtags that the American Cancer Society is using right now, it's how they're gathering stories, and really the main thing you'll see them post this year is hashtag why I relay. That's a great one to use. I think it would be awesome to do a campaign around that locally. But at the same time, that's the national hashtag they're using. So if you want to do something local that you can help track yourself and see your local stories, either make up a second one, or you have to go dig through all of that all the time. But I do think it's fun to make a hashtag that's generic for your Relay for Life event, and it helps you as a social media manager capture and see what's being said and talked about related to your community. I will also say that there's no reason why when you're posting about your community that you can't watch and follow other pages and and share some of the same things that they're doing. Just make sure that you keep it relevant to the people that are following you, and maybe change the caption up a little bit or something like that. The second word there is curate, and this is one of my fun relay words. It means capturing things that are kind of already done for you. And so when we talk about sharing what's on the national pages, then that falls into curating. But look at your region page, look at the national page, look at other community accounts around you. If you want to use a graphic that somebody else has created and it's not like on the official American Cancer Society page, because those are all shareable, you might just want to make sure and reach out to the person, just shoot a message from yourself and just say, hey, do you care if we use this? Especially if you're not just like sharing it, if you're taking it. Maybe they had a theme I did last year that you guys want to use this year. Just make sure and ask them permission. You can't just go to Google and right click and save something off Google and share it. Those are covered by copyright. And so while we want to curate, we don't want to steal things. So that's why we have Brand Toolkit and things like that are already created for you if you're not a graphic person. But anyway, that's kind of what curate means. Interact. Make sure that while you tag people, be part of that communication or community that we've talked about, like, share, interact with people online, but make sure you're also responding to comments and questions. And I would challenge you, as the person that's managing your Relay page, make sure that, especially that the week of Relay and Relay Day, that you're paying attention to your page. It's really easy to go be at the football field or the gym or the community center and tying balloons together and doing all kinds of things. Make sure part of your job, and it's communicated to your leadership team, that part of your job of that day will be to follow up. A lot of people use and interact with your Facebook page just like a website. So they're going to ask and want to know information and things like that from you. So make sure that that you're giving them answers and you're there. And then my challenge to you would just be with that to make sure that your posts have a call to action. It's great to say, again, we're thankful for Community Bank being a sponsor, appreciate what you do for our community. It's really powerful to, at the end of that, to say, and if you'd like to be a sponsor of this year's event, contact so-and-so at email address, or whatever you guys are using to do that. Give people an option to do something with the information that you've given them. Don't just kind of leave them hanging like, cool, thumbs up, that was awesome. The next one's the word story. You've been hearing us talk about that hero. It's great to say XYZ celebrity is going to be here tonight, but how cool would it be if you could get a video of them? Even if they just held up their selfie video and were like, hey guys, I'm glad to see you. Maybe they have a personal connection to cancer and that's why they want to be at your event that night. But tell the story and really think about, what story is the American Cancer Society telling? But even as you guys as a local event dreamed and planned for this relay year, what story are you guys trying to tell? Is there a certain segment of your community you're trying to connect with? Is there a certain something you're trying to reinforce, a myth you're trying to bust? How can you play out that story and the ideas and things that you post when you're talking about adding variety to the content on your page. And that's where I'll just end there. Carol talked a lot on that last slide about variety, but I would say variety applies not just to the types of things that you're posting as far as mission versus fundraisers versus announcements, but also the time of day you post, as well as the type of post. So look at pictures versus videos versus links to things versus sharing content from other places. It was mentioned in the chat box a minute ago about the Insights tab inside Facebook, where you can kind of see when your people are most active, who your type of person is. Just think like they think. When would they be on Facebook? And you want to make sure your content is already posted so you're just ahead of them. And if you're looking for more best practices in kind of that area, one of the things we'll include and follow up is a training Carol and I did last year for Relay for Life volunteers called Changing the Social Connection. And the whole call, that's all it was about, was just kind of really some specific tools and things. One thing we always get asked about is tools that folks are using. These are some that are just kind of more popular that we hear over and over. I've personally used some of them. The top row are graphic related things, and that bottom one is a video. But Canva is, yeah, I love Canva too. I love all the Canva love. It's something I use personally as a freelancer, but use it for lots of different things. There's paid versions and free versions of probably most of all of these, but it just likes you to be consistent. It gives you templates. I don't necessarily consider myself a graphic designer, but these let me feel like I'm doing something great and consistent for my community. And that's the other thing that's part of this brand when people are scrolling past. We want it to be Relay Purple. We want people to recognize fonts. We want people to know that consistency and brand. But your local event might also have kind of a brand feeling. And so these Canva tools, you may have a graphic that you always use when you're promoting a fundraiser. You may always have a kind of graphic you're doing when you're saying thanks or congratulations to somebody. So that's kind of cool. Canva and PicMonkey, they have apps, but both of them are desktop. WordSwag is an app. It lets you put words on top of a picture or make a graphic, something like that. And then Animoto is a video app. It's actually a video tool. It's free. That came up. I have not personally done a lot with it, but it's been coming up from other volunteers and my other communications cohorts that are saying, hey, this is an app to oh goodness, edit video. And so as you're hearing us talk tonight about how important video is, that's just a good one to have on your radar and to learn a little bit more about. Carol?
Thanks. I'm going to be really quick because we are running out of time, and I know that the ending is always the best part. So I'm just going to do this part really quick. Again, drawing from the Relay for Life social media playbook. One of the most fun and the highest viewed posts that I've seen in the last few months are the man on the street videos that are posted quickly to an event page. And you know, there's live streaming, which is like 5 minutes long, and it's focused on like a section. For instance, if you were to live stream the entire Survivor's Lap, that would be cool, and it's in real time. A man on the street would be pulling somebody off the Survivor Lap and asking them, you know, 30 seconds, how important is the Survivor Lap to you? How meaningful is this to you? And you capture that video and you quickly post it. But the man on the street videos are awesome. Like I said, this is right out of the social media playbook, where there is a host of tips. You know, make sure you're planning ahead and make sure you practice. Oh, and here's my favorite. Be sure you're fully charged. There's nothing worse than trying to do a video and load it when you are dead. And you have strong Wi-Fi. But those tips are in the social media playbook. But I just wanted to mention the live streaming is very much trending right now, and you can take advantage of it. And you know, if you're not the best friend of shooting videos and posting it, find someone who is. There are people who love to do this kind of thing. And then let me just jump into the next slide, which is our key takeaways. And I hope, I know I'm talking a little faster here now because I really want to save time for some questions. I hope you don't feel like you're overwhelmed. I hope that we've given you enough information to keep it interesting and to stimulate some ideas and to get your kind of the juices flowing. But we don't want you to be overwhelmed. But here are some really prime takeaways if you wanted to boil it down. Social media is important to your event, so post at least 3 times a week. And the closer you get to the event, you might want to post a little bit more often. Follow and share the content from the ACS and Relay for Life master social sites. That's all about mission, and that's about bigger, more about initiatives and some bigger picture things that you don't necessarily have, nor are you expected to have. You get to be the expert in the community information that you're posting to your event and event information. So pull that information from the ACS and Relay Master sites just to fill in and to augment your important information. Shake up your content, keep it interesting, and make them want to come back for more. And storytelling, this whole thing is about storytelling because people are interested in other people and what they say. And of course, video is king. Keisha, I know I went through that really fast, but I know that the next slide is an opportunity for questions and resources. So I'm going to hand it back to you.
Yeah, there's actually a really great conversation going on in the chat that I just want to speak into real quick and use that to bridge us into questions. You guys are all muted, so if you do have a question, just unmute yourself, either by having your name or wherever, and or you can ask the question in chat. But folks are talking about a live feed at their event, and then getting shut down. It's just a great reminder that when we run music at our events and then we're live streaming that, we technically don't have the rights to that music unless you're working and you've done that, paid a lot of extra money that you shouldn't have. But just know that that's one of those things. So if you're planning to do a live stream, maybe use a local person to sing or a song written by a local artist or something like that, that makes a Survivor lap or a Luminaria lap really meaningful. But yes, that is something you're probably going to get. This person mentioned that they just got shut down or they got muted by Facebook. It's not that Facebook hates you, it's just a protection of the artist and what's going on there. So really great discussion. You guys scroll back if you missed that about live streaming. But does anybody have any questions for us tonight? We've got a few minutes. I did put this slide up, and we've mentioned several resources. Those top 3, Relay Connect, Brand Toolkit, and Volunteer Learning Center. If you do not have accounts on those, that's your number 1 takeaway from tonight, because that is resource central for getting the things that you need, graphics, logos, templates, all kinds of things that will help you be successful in this role. So anybody have any questions? You can type them in the chat box, or you can unmute yourself and ask.
Hi, my name's Caitlin. I'm from New Mexico, and we've really been trying to stay active on most major social media outlets. We've been active on Facebook for our older audiences, as well as Twitter and Instagram. One thing we've been trying out is Snapchat. And we've mainly been doing that because of the stories and because you can utilize those filters to promote your event. And I was wondering if there's any way, or if anyone knows of any way that we can better utilize Snapchat, or if that's just a waste of our time.
I will just speak in real quick. This is Keisha. Our guys doing the Instagram session in a couple weeks may speak a little bit more to this. It's super connected to our youth and or collegiate events. The filters is really the best way, I think, to be using it. It just gets people interacting and spreading your story. So frankly, for folks like us who aren't sharing a coupon or things like that, that sometimes we'll see from brands with Snapchat. The filter is really probably your best use of it. And frankly, I would say your ephemeral content, as far as same kind of use and concept with stories, in that the night of relay, the things leading up to it, giving that kind of behind the scenes concept. I would just take on as much as you can handle, and don't take on more than that, just as much as you guys feel like you can maintain. And it sounds like you guys probably have a little bit of a diverse community that's helping you. Yeah, the campus folks are really the ones to follow and interact with on that. And maybe you guys can set a precedent for us and teach us some things. Thanks, Caitlin, for what you're doing.
No problem. Thank you.
All right. Anybody else have a question for us? I see a question about Twitter. Carol uses Twitter a lot. I think, again, you've got to think with any one of these platforms, who's your audience? So if you're saying, oh, Twitter, people in general are active on Twitter, we should get on Twitter. Yeah, that's true. But if your audience who are, whatever community looks like, that's where I would just spend your time. There are some tools of things like if this, then that, and some schedulers where you can just kind of put everything you're putting on Facebook over there on Twitter if you feel like you just need to have an audience. But you're going to want those messages really specific. And there's just a language of Twitter. Twitter's a lot of news, a lot of community of things. I know some farmers and things like that I work with in my state and with some clients. So Carol, do you have anything to add when it comes to Twitter and success you've seen there, or audience answers?
I come at it from less of an event position, because we use Twitter a lot to connect with influencers related to news. We do a lot with media for Twitter, so I kind of have a really different perspective than probably everybody else on the call.
Angela, I don't know if that answered your question. There's some good conversation going about Snapchat in the chat room, but I think, again, it's going to be what your community, if that's where the folks in your community are. Like if you were kind of lived in the part of country where I am, and you were in a high farming community, high municipal, high political involvement, then that's where those folks are. So make sure that you're communicating, but in general, only take on what you can. Someone asked if we have an example of a local page that's really doing a good job. I have some opinions myself. Carol has some opinions. We've asked for some of those, and that will be something in our follow-up information, so you guys have some pages to follow. But if you think you're killing it with your pages and you want to list those there for people to follow, put that in the chat, and people can see it, or a direct link to it, as well as your email address if you haven't put that in there yet. But maybe we can get some pages to follow from each other. All right, it's right at 8. I think I heard someone else asking a question. I'm going to let you do that, and then we're going to tie it. Anybody else have another question? All right. Meg and Dylan have shared their page, so you guys follow them. Anybody else, put it there. I will share with you, these are the dates of the next sessions we have planned. We have those dates already on there. We'll share the information for these through Relay Connect, as well as the online Facebook group, the online chair Facebook group, and the ELT page, so that people can have it and you guys can come. If you have questions, things we need to cover in the next ones, go ahead and leave those in the chat room before you leave. If you didn't hear at the beginning, we did record all this and we will be sharing it. So make sure that you leave us your email address in the